There we go. All right. So this week's session and for the next couple of weeks, provide systems advocacy services. My name's Dwayne, and this is module CHCADV005. Provide systems advocacy services. Um, I was just looking over the modules that you've got and comparing it with the Cert 4. A lot of you might have done the Cert 4. You might have come straight in with RPL into the diploma. But the Cert 4 is a lot about learning facts and learning processes and learning how to that you might demonstrate something. Um, but the diploma is more active. It's expecting you to do not something more, but something different. So obviously, the last topic being promote Aboriginal cultural safety. It's like an adjective. You've got to promote. This one is provide systems advocacy services. So we'll have a look at this. And the next two topics, I can't remember what they are, but they are provide. It's continually active. So that's the type of thing that the topic's wanting from you. Um, so this is session two. No, it's not session two. It's session one. Um, so this is the acknowledgement of country. In the spirit of reconciliation, Hayder Institute of Education acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea, and community. We recognise Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people as the first inhabitants of this nation and the traditional custodians of the land on which we work, live, and study. We express our gratitude for the sharing of this land, our sorrow for the personal, spiritual, and cultural costs of that sharing, and hope that we may move forward together in harmony and in the spirit of healing. Pay our respect to all the First Nation people and acknowledge elders past, present, and emerging. A bit of housekeeping as usual. Welcome everybody. Thank you for giving your time tonight. I know you might, obviously, if you're not going to get into it, you're not going to get the qualification. But thank you for coming. Um, Cameras on. If you're in the room, then stay with us and cameras on, please, and microphones off. Unless we're digging into discussion, keep your mic off. Class breaks. We've started almost on time, so we should be heading on for a break at 7 o'clock and then a break at 8 o'clock, 10 minutes each. If you're wanting to, rather than railroading everybody and everybody speaking at once, use the emoticon thing for putting your hand up, which is part of respecting each other, respectful relationships. No smoking or vaping on the video, which is linked with respecting each other because we don't want to triggering anybody with smoking, vaping, or emotional triggers, setting anybody off, irritating anybody. Just be aware of what you're doing, what you're saying, and respecting everybody. Respect yourself. Be kind to yourself afterwards. Look after yourself. 3 hours is a long night. Yes, you got breaks, but it's quite long. So there's a lot to get to grips with, and you just got to relax afterwards. Make sure that you've got some downtime for yourself afterwards. So, with that, I've got the wrong PowerPoint, so I've just paused the video.
Right.
Being an advocate, legal and ethical considerations, consultation processes, leadership, models of negotiation and mediation, lobbying and awareness raising. Pretty political, all of it. In the end, just so you know, there's 3 sessions. If we've got them in a different order, it doesn't matter. You just got to do the 3 sessions and you've got all the information that you need for the topic. So yes, it's political. Being being an advocate, they've got this module in a few other diplomas because being an advocate
Two.
Just checking the videos on. Sorry.
It's a curious place to do that.
I think it is. Yes, it is. Sorry. Being an advocate is representing. Sorry, I'll just mute you. Oh, there's people wanting to be in.
Hang on.
There we go. Being an advocate is representing somebody that can't necessarily represent themselves. So this module is in a few of the topics. It's in like the aged care section. It's in the youth section. It's in the obviously this is the AOD section. So what it's meaning is that these people may be people with English as a second language, migrants. It's saying that certain people can't necessarily represent themselves in Australia, which means we are, as community services, want to represent them. You might be able to look at some of the groups and say, yeah, they can't necessarily represent themselves. Some people might look at people that have been struggling with drugs and alcohol and say, hold on, these are normal, legitimate adults, some of them, so why are they in this category that can't necessarily represent themselves? The fact is that nobody chooses addiction. Most people choose drugs or alcohol. Most people. They've chosen to use or drink it, but nobody ever chooses the addiction, the trauma and the difficult life, the horrible life that comes with it. So in that case, if people aren't choosing that, they can't necessarily choose to get out of it, which means that some support might need to be in there for that person. Could be family, it could be agencies, some networking services, it could be a drop-in center, it could be detoxing, it could be a rehab. Anything, any of these services might be there to support somebody that's struggling with alcohol and other drugs issues. So, excuse me, warm-up activity. The rights and preferences. Consult individual clients or groups. You're doing a bit of research, and consult individual clients or groups to determine their advocacy needs. So it could be any of the ones I've mentioned, because obviously this topic's all about drugs and alcohol, but it might be something to do with where you're working at the moment. So it could be, I'm not going to mention them again. You have a look. Individual clients or groups to determine their advocacy needs. Who do they need to represent them? Why might they need to be represented? In what way? We're not necessarily meaning in court. A lot of times advocacy means representing somebody in court, but that's not necessarily what we're talking about. We might be meaning in society. So, having a look at some client groups, understand their rights, find information about their rights, identify the outcomes they want. Try and go with somebody, with a group that somebody else might not go with, if you know what I mean. Do it personal to you. So what time is it now? It's 6:15. Let's have 10 minutes looking at that. So take a screenshot, I'll scribble it down, I'll leave it up for a minute or two. We're doing this till 25 past. There we go.
I've got nothing on my screen, mate, except for the gallery.
This one, rights and preferences.
I've got nothing, mate. I've got you and I've got the gallery.
Dwayne, is it possible for you just to put that into the chat so we can just refer to it instead of doing a screenshot?
Genius, Sky. Actually, I'll do it all.
Sorry, mate, but that's Yeah,
No, that's fine. I'll do that, but I still need to figure out why you can't see it.
yeah. I've got all the people, like everyone here tonight, but I just don't have uh, any of the screen that you've shared.
There we go. So, consult individual client groups to determine their advocacy needs, help clients to maybe keep it to do with your employment or what you've been studying last or something like that. Oh, my screen sharing is paused. There you go. That's why. If there's a problem, it's usually me.
It's unusual. You never met my ex-wife. Used to always be me.
It's two of us then, Paul.
Yeah, mate. It was always easier just to say yes, dear, just as soon as she started.
So people working in the area, people working in community services, they're going to be they're going to be representing and they're going to be advocating for and they're going to be supporting and they're going to be empowering loads and loads of different clients, different clients. That's the main thing. Most people are run off their feet. Most agencies and most support services are oversubscribed. They've got X amount of staff and they've got so many clients that would keep them occupied forever because of the funding that's available. A lot of agencies are government funded, but a lot of charity based, non-government funded. But there's never enough money to go around. There's never enough finance and budget to get all of the services done for all of the people that need it. So you're in it because you love it. You're in the work because you love doing it, really, and you want to help people and you want to support people. So, moving on, I'll screen again. Here we go. So that was what you've just done. So, friends and carers. Again, don't forget, this is generic. It's not necessarily about AOD. It's about advocating for somebody. So this could be, this could literally be about anybody that you're representing. Let the client know you are talking about them. Include family when developing the support plan. Learn about family dynamics and lifestyle. Seek advice and recommendations regarding clients' preferences for hobbies, pastimes, recreation, or entertainment. Encourage participation in activities with clients where appropriate. Some of these little tips are very similar to what was in the Promoting Aboriginal Cultural Safety, because that's very similar to what that topic was all about. That was a topic on almost advocating for Aboriginal culture. So, consulting with colleagues. Colleagues can assist with perspectives, identifying and defining issues of concern and strategies. So, nobody's wanting anyone to do it alone. Like we might have a caseload or a workload that's massive, but if we collaborate, then we can get some new perspective on something, and get maybe 2, 3, 4 members of staff's perspective on each client. And a lot of times it might be the same in your employment. A lot of times you would have case conference type meetings where one client is discussed by 2 or 3 well, sometimes 3 or 4 members of staff. So it could be a clinical meeting where all caseworkers sit down and discuss all the different clients, and a different perspective from a different caseworker or staff member could bring it just a new light to where the staff member and the client might be wanting to go with. So they might be frustrated. The staff member might be frustrated with somebody and say, look, I'm struggling with this person because they are either not complying or they are complying, but they've hit a brick wall and they don't know where to go with this person. And then you get another staff member that says, well, this person might need to be followed up with this other agency. This might really, really help them to support them. A personal mentor, maybe, or financial counseling or something like that. When we hit a brick wall, it's good to get somebody else's perspective. Paul, did you have your hand up? So, consulting with community. So, just like we've consulted with staff, our peers, our support, our own support, then also we've got to consult with the community, build relationships with community leaders, build relationships with members, build understanding of issues and benefits to the community, and collaborate with community on participation and strategies. The person that we're working with, the client, they come from a community. They have beliefs, they have family, they have values, they have support services already that might be lacking, but they are there. There might be judgmental family, there might be loving family, there might be friends that are distanced from them. There's a community around them. It might be a negative community, it might be a horrible community, but there is something there, and that's what we often have to work in to figure out how we're going to support the person, because we can't take them out of the community. Even when we take them out of the community, put them in rehab or detox, they have to go back there. So the big question is what happens then? Build understanding of issues and benefits to the community, collaborate with community on participation and strategies. Models of negotiation. So this isn't necessarily a relationship class, but models of negotiation. So we've got a video on negotiation. I'm just going to jump straight to the easy thing and give you the link. This is me giving up and saying, could you watch it, please? And I'll put it in the chat. So there you go. Start the recording. When we're bargaining, when we're negotiating, we've got people that might not want to see eye to eye, and the skill is to bring these two people together and get them to see something, get them to see the same thing. they're coming from different perspectives, but in negotiation, you're getting them to see the same thing from their point of view, which is really difficult. But in advocacy, it's something that we have to learn a little bit as a skill. It's a skill that comes in relationships. It's a skill that not necessarily is anything to do with AOD. It's like we need it in life. Sometimes we don't have it in life. We need it in jobs and careers, but sometimes we don't necessarily get to practice it enough. So with negotiation, we are hoping that both people find that they've got a bargain. That's what I'm trying to say. So,
I think as well, a negotiation is like only works if both parties aren't 100% satisfied. You've won some, you lost some. If you're 100% satisfied, then your negotiation is going to fail, and it's not actual negotiation.
Yeah.
You've got to be upset that you've missed something and you've had to compromise. So if both people are happy, it's not a negotiation. You've both got to walk out a bit miserable.
Yeah. So both people have failed in that circumstance, really.
But is it really a fail? Because like my end goal is I want every single one of my clients to be clear of drug and alcohol in 3 to 6 months, and to have reached this program and to be so successful their first time, and they're fabulous.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen realistically. No matter how much I negotiate, it's not gonna happen. So I'm going to be a little bit upset and a little bit miserable that this has now taken a year to accomplish this goal, and they're a bit upset and they're a bit, miserable because they've had to do this in the beginning.
Yeah. That's true. Paul, go for it.
Yeah, just on what Sky was saying, the concept that you want everyone to do the right thing with the way in which you're trying to point them in the direction of, as Sky said, off the grog or off the drugs, etc., etc. No one's doing that anymore. There's
and jumping straight into it, we've got another reading to do, bit of study. So I'll put it up and I'll copy it into the chat again. Not just to Paul this time, to everyone. There we go.
Yeah, I'm not getting any shared screen at all.
No, there isn't anything yet. There we go. So the task is read the What is Advocacy article from Queensland Advocacy Inclusion. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to read it. It's not long, but it's very important. So yes, of course.
Dwayne, I don't know what's happened, but now I've got something you've shared.
Yeah, that's because I've shared it. All good.
So it's actually, I'm back with you now.
Yeah. So Queensland Advocacy Inclusion is an advocacy group that they advocate for all of these different types of things. It's one agency that they're not focused on one client group. They're focusing on one mode of working. So they're looking at human rights law, they're looking at mental health criminal justice, NDIS, young people. There's loads and loads of client groups here, like stacks. We've got AOD as well in there somewhere. We've got women as a group. So this group, their specialism is the advocacy. So they're not necessarily specialists in AOD or Indigenous culture. It's their whole role to represent people as advocates, and it mentioned different ways of advocacy. And I've lost it. There it is. So it mentioned the different types of advocacy that they do. It's the different types of advocacy that we might be expected to do as well. So there's individual advocacy, one-on-one support for an individual. That is heaps and heaps of agencies, heaps and heaps of clients are doing this. Individual advocacy, almost a bit like Sky said, empowering them so that they can pretty much take control of their own life, really, or even in a supported way. Moving down, there's also systems advocacy. So we might be part of our agency, or whoever we're working with might be part of a system advocacy is going forward to the government, the policies, the practices that are disadvantaging people. So if there's official legislation in government that is not helping somebody that's struggling with alcohol and drug use to get better, to get healthy, then it could be local legislation, could be like federal politics, it could be state politics, it could be local area stuff that is holding somebody back. Then it might be our responsibility in our job to be trying to advocate in that area. It's a possibility. And you might be doing that in certain areas. There we go, with lobbying and raising awareness. And okay, we're jumping into another video. So, pause. So how can we use social media for advocacy? That's what she was saying. That's what she was wanting to do. What in our jobs can we do to use, when I say social media, there's a lot of different types of social media. There's a lot of different apps. There's a lot of different people on the apps. How can we use all of this for advocacy in, let's say, AOD? But if you think it can apply other way in another area, that's fine. How can we use it? Anyone? Move on to the next. We'll move on to the next slide.
With that in mind, what you say though, mate, and I don't know who has and who hasn't read Animal Farm, but
so we've got lobbying government and decision makers. That's two, both lobbying government and decision makers. because not everybody in government is a decision maker, and not all decision makers are in government. So sometimes we might have to be contacting people just for support. Somebody in an agency that's supposed to be helping people might be a decision maker that needs to be contacted. So we're talking about influencing government and other community decision makers to affect change for the better of the individual and community. So mobilizing communities to campaign with letter writing, meetings, invitations, and media. We'll come back to that video later. Come on. Hold on. So parliamentary inquiries as well, making submissions. So if we want legislation to change, if we want something that's written in law to be altered, it's a massive amount of red tape, but it can happen. It can be changed. So we've got looking at inquiry submissions, forms of submissions, publication, address terms of reference, contents, and lodging process. That's the order that things can go through. Or then there's advocacy in court, possibly giving evidence as a witness, records of what's said, other documents, and protecting rights and privacy. A standing committee in the community. So there's agriculture and water resources, communications and the arts, economics, employment. There's certain committees that govern our hobbies, our work, our careers, our study, our homes and communities. There's certain committees and legislation that are there behind everything that we do. We might not see them, but it's because we've got the freedom to do certain things, or that we enjoy doing certain things, that there's probably been a committee or somebody advocating for it. Economics, employment, education and training, environment and energy, health, aged care and sports, Indigenous affairs, industry, innovation, science and resources, infrastructure, transport and cities, social policy, legal affairs, tax and revenue. So contributing to and commenting on government policy, development, legislation, projects and plans. In a way, this topic is almost saying politics is there. We can't get away from it. We might not like politics, but it's affecting us even if we don't want to be affected by it. We might not want to vote, we might not want to have an opinion, but because it's affecting us, then we can change it if we get together and change for the better, really. So under here, let's so that's advocacy. That's our life as it is. The fact that we're studying, the fact that we're in Australia, the fact that we've got certain rights is because certain people have been advocating for it in the past. The fact that I'm here in Australia, the fact that I'm in this TAFE college, in whatever form it is, it's because certain advocates have come on before and managed to push the barrier of legislation that held certain people back. So, with the slides, just before break, just looking at another couple of slides, and for the task after break, when we talk about challenging Parliament, and we're wanting to change legislation, or we're wanting to change the law, not just legislation, but we want to change maybe a law, we repetitioning or petitioning and repetitioning the Senate or House of Representatives. Individuals and organizations can have petitions presented to the Senate and House of Representatives. It takes a long time to change something, but over the past few years, there's been certain things that have happened because people have been on and on and on at the government trying to change the way things are run, and eventually it happens and they get through. So express views on matters of public policy and ask Parliament to take or not to take a particular course of action, which means contacting senators and members of Parliament. So we can't just walk into a government hearing when they're all talking about policy. We would contact our member of Parliament first, and we would get our member of Parliament to try and act on our behalf, because then the member of Parliament is acting as our advocate. Why, how, and who? They are the questions that we need to figure out. Who is our member of Parliament? Why would they do that? And how would they do that? And it's not a task. It's just if you were wanting to get a member of Parliament to act on your behalf, why would they do it? Because they're a member of Parliament and you're a member of Parliament, and they are there as an advocate between you and the government. So that it's their job to do that. How? They would take the matter to government when it's appropriate, and they would try and act on your behalf. So the next step is after break. After break, you've got an option, but it's research, an option of one of two. So it's a case study or it's just research. Have a quick look over it now, and then after break, we'll carry it out. So the case study is: the purpose of this activity is for students to learn about royal commissioning and how to make a submission as an advocate. Students are to investigate the webpage of the Royal Commission into aged care quality and safety. There it is. I'll put all this in the chat after break. The purpose of the Royal Commission, how to make a submission, how the information will be used, and then we'll figure it out afterwards. The other option, the purpose of this activity is for students to gain an understanding of how to contact their state government so they can advocate for the rights and needs of their clients. We won't go into small groups, but yeah, that's it. So that's the two options. Think about it over break, and it's in my way. All right, 7:56. So let's come back at 8:05. 10 minutes, Sky. That's it, 10 minutes. We'll have break now for 10 minutes. No matter what your times are. I'll put it on. So the tasks. Oh, hold on. Who was that? Thea. Yeah, go for it.
I know I'm talking way too much today. Anyway, the Royal
No.
Commission, I worked in aged care. I was an area manager for an aged care group. So when the
Okay.
Royal Commission started, I did all these things that you've just spoken to.
Oh,
So
wow.
I can basically tell you exactly how the Royal Commission works.
Well, you can put your feet up and not do anything, or you can no, do the other one.
All right,
Do
what was
the case study one. So the two options is let me share the screen. And I'll give you the web link as well in the chat.
Beautiful.
So,
Thank you.
the purpose of this activity is for students to learn about the Royal Commission,
Yeah.
and how to make submissions to an advocate. As an advocate, students are to look at the aged care. So I'll copy all of this, I'll put it in chat, and then I'll give you the other one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come on. Here we go. That's the Royal Commission one.
Yeah.
And the other one, it's your choice of research. So the other one is, where's it gone? The other one is lobbying Parliament. The purpose of this activity is for students to gain an understanding of how to contact their state government so they can advocate for the rights and needs of their clients. So on your own, how would you draft this letter? Here it is.
So we can't do illegal riots and things like that.
You can't do what, sorry?
Illegal riots.
Not really. It's not really connected with AOD.
I'm joking. No, I'm
Yeah.
just joking.
Thanks. There you go. No, that's still the aged care one. Come on. So it's a letter, or it's Royal Commission of the letter. It's up to you. And it's 8:10 now, so we'll have 10 minutes for that. So we'll come back at 20 past. I'll stay on. I'm not going anywhere. Finished. So okay, so let me highlight that so you can see. You can't see. So working together, working collaboratively. If we had to do all of this on our own, if we had to be an advocate on our own, we wouldn't necessarily get much done. I know I wouldn't. So the idea is to work with the social media, with different agencies. The idea is to get together and try and make something happen, not just as an individual, but as a group of agencies or as a group of people. If I'm representing my clients, just me on my own, trying to get them empowered for their life, that we can do that. Me and my client can do that potentially. But if I get them in contact with other agencies, if I get them in contact with other people that are going to support them, and it's not just me on my own, and it's the client and a lot of different agencies, a lot of different networks and family, and it's going to mean that it's easier on them. It's easier for them to make their life work, and it's also everybody's taken a bit of the burden. So achieve shared goals, improve quality and scope of services, and improve efficiency. So everything gets done smoothly. Everything gets done because everybody's sharing the workload, and hopefully the client benefits. So principles of collaboration. So how do you work together with other people? How do we get things done? We identify and accept the need for partnership. That often is not, some people don't see the need and accept the need for partnership. Some people think that they can do it on their own. A client might think that they don't need anybody else's help. That's entirely up to them. If they don't need anyone else's help, that's fine. But some agencies think that they don't need to work together with other agencies, and they're overprotective about sharing information, or that they don't want to work together with certain agencies that are supporting certain clients. First of all, we identify and accept the need for partnership. We've got to do it together. And then develop clear and strong purpose. What's the purpose? Once everybody is together and focused, then they've got to have a shared purpose. Then once that's done, once that's agreed on, ensure commitment and ownership of all parties. Somebody mentioned earlier that the client has to take responsibility as well. I think that might have been last week, actually. So it's not just the agencies that are working, it's the client as well, the client and all of the client support network. So the family, the friends, everybody's working together for the good of the client and the benefits. Develop and maintain trust between partners. So how easy, it's not possible to work together in partnership if you don't trust the other partner. Client's got to trust all of the network agencies that they're working with, and all the agencies have got to trust each other at least a little bit to know that things are going to get done. Sorry. And finally, I'll show you this. Create well-defined, robust partnership arrangements. So each one builds on the last. From identifying and accepting partnerships, all the way down to develop, maintain trust, create well-defined partnerships, and then monitor, measure, and learn. If you're not measuring what's being done, then nothing is necessarily going to get progressed. We might not achieve what we want to achieve if we're not actually measuring it and checking it out all the time, in a certain measure. So reviewing outcomes of advocacy activities. Obviously, we've been talking about advocacy today. Organizational procedures for reviewing outcomes. Review outcomes against stakeholder objectives. Identify and share lessons learned. Areas for change or improvement in advocacy activities. And then areas of continuous improvement as per organizational requirements. And then often this end one will cycle back to the beginning, because we've got to a certain point of this is where we want to be. We've done really well here. So now we've got to review what's happened. We're reviewing everything that we've got, and in effect, we're starting again, reviewing outcomes against stakeholder objectives, identify and share lessons learned, areas for change or improvement or advocacy activities, and then continuous improvement happens. A lot of times here, right at the beginning, with budgets and different stakeholders are going to get involved. If you're working in an agency and you've got certain clients that you've been working with for a while, you might find that the stakeholder here, the stakeholders might be a different government body that's giving you money in a different year. So you might not know whether you're going to have the client the next year, because you might not know whether you're going to have the same budget. You might not know whether the outcomes, the expectations are going to be the same as they were the year before. And that's a lot of what happens with working in community services. So to close, we've been talking about preparing submissions, government, contributing to government policy development, commenting on policies, legislation, projects and plans on behalf of our client. And pretty much what is advocacy? That's what we're wanting to try and get to grips with. So I think we can finish it there.